You know the moment I mean. You're standing in front of the mirror, dressed and almost ready, and you reach for a necklace the way you have for 30 years. You put it on, you look up, and something is off. Your face looks a little more tired than it did a second ago. Your neck looks shorter, and you can't explain why, so you blame your skin, your age, the light in the bathroom. Let me tell you the truth right now, in the first 10 seconds, because I wish someone had told me. It was never your neck. It was the necklace. The wrong necklace, sitting in the wrong place, casting a shadow and drawing a line in exactly the spot that adds years to a woman past 60. I learned this the hard way, standing in a department store fitting room the week before my niece's wedding, watching a saleswoman half my age hand me the exact chain that was quietly aging me for a decade. And here is what I promise you. By the end of this, you'll know the one necklace to take off today, and 3 you already own or can find for a few dollars that will lengthen your neck, soften your jaw, and take years off your face in the time it takes to fasten a clasp. There's a principle behind it, a real one, quietly used by a Hollywood costume designer in the 1950s to keep aging actresses looking luminous on camera. I'll save the best of it for the end, and it costs you nothing. So stay with me, because none of this asks you to buy a new wardrobe. Everything I'm about to show you works with the jewelry sitting in your drawer right now. Let me start with the necklace that's doing the damage. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and you'll understand why so many photographs of yourself lately have made you wince. It's the short one, the one that sits right at the base of your throat, snug against the neck, the choker, the single strand of beads that ends high, right where your collarbones meet. For years, these were sold to us as classic, as tasteful, as the safe choice. A string of pearls at the throat, a beaded strand your husband gave you. That little gold chain that never leaves the box because it feels too plain. Here's what that necklace actually does to a woman our age. It draws a hard horizontal line straight across the widest, softest part of the neck, and the human eye follows lines. When you place a horizontal line across your throat, you are pointing a giant arrow at the very place where skin loosens with time, where the neck begins to fold, where the light catches every crease. I want you to picture 2 capital letters. Picture a capital H and a capital V. A horizontal line, the crossbar of that H, cuts a shape in half and makes it look wider and shorter. A vertical line, the long stroke of a V, pulls the eye up and down and makes everything it touches look longer and slimmer. Your necklace is either drawing an H across your neck or a V down it. That is the entire secret in one image, and almost no one ever explained it to you. The short necklace, the choker, the high beaded strand, draws the H. It chops. It shortens. It widens, and worse, when it sits tight against the skin, it creates a little shelf, and that shelf casts a shadow downward, and that shadow lands right under the jaw, the one place we least want a shadow. So the necklace we thought was elegant is actually deepening the exact softness we're most self-conscious about. I owned 3 of these. 3. A pearl choker, a beaded strand and a dusty rose, and a gold collar I'd been told was timeless. I wore them to every occasion that mattered for years, thinking I looked pulled together, never once realizing they were the reason I looked heavier in the face than I felt. Now here's the part that stings, and I promise I'll turn it into good news in a moment. It isn't only the length, it's the tightness and the weight combined. A necklace that clings to the throat moves with every swallow, every turn of the head, and it constantly redraws that horizontal line so the eye can never escape it. Nothing about it flatters the mature neck. Nothing. But before you go throwing anything away, let me be fair, because there's a version of this that isn't your fault at all, and it's worth knowing who taught us to reach for the short strand in the first place. Think back to where most of us learned what a necklace should look like. We learned it from our mothers, and our mothers learned it in the 1940s and 50s, when the fashion was a snug strand of pearls worn high at the throat, buttoned up to the collar. On a young woman with a smooth, long neck, that high strand looks crisp and sweet. It photographs beautifully at 25. So the rule got passed down. Pearls at the throat, keep it neat, keep it high, keep it close. And nobody ever added the second half of the sentence, the part that says, this only works while the skin of the neck is still taut. Nobody updated the rule for the woman we actually become. We inherited a style meant for a young throat and kept wearing it for 50 years, wondering why it stopped feeling right. That's not vanity failing us. That's information nobody bothered to give us. And you're going to have it in the next few minutes. So if the short, high, tight necklace draws the aging H, then the fix is simple to say and life-changing to see. We need to draw the V instead. And the first necklace that does it is one you almost certainly already own, sitting forgotten because it seemed too ordinary. It's a simple pendant on a chain that falls to about the middle of your chest. In the old jewelry books, this length has a name. They called it the princess length, and it runs about 18 inches, ending just below the collarbone, right at the top of the breastbone. A single pendant hanging from that chain does something almost magical. It creates a long vertical line down the center of your body and a soft point at the bottom, and the eye slides down that line and rests on the pendant, well below the neck. Do you see what just happened? The moment the eye is traveling downward in a straight line, it stops scanning your jaw and your throat. The horizontal H is gone. In its place is a long, slimming V that lengthens the neck, opens up the chest, and pulls attention to the center of you instead of the edges of your face. Let me tell you what this looked like the first time I tried it, because I didn't believe it either. I took off the pearl choker I'd worn to a lunch, and I put on a thin gold chain with a small teardrop pendant that I'd owned for maybe 15 years and never wore because it seemed too simple. I looked back in the mirror. My neck looked 2 inches longer. I turned my head, and the little shadow under my jaw had softened because there was no tight band creating a shelf anymore. I looked, honestly, like I'd had a good night's sleep and a glass of water. That's the difference a vertical line makes. There's a real principle underneath this, and it comes from the world of image consulting, where they study how the eye moves across the body. They call it the vertical line principle, and the finding is consistent. A strong vertical line down the center of an outfit makes the wearer read as taller and slimmer, and it draws the gaze away from horizontal width. Tailors have used it forever. It's why a long open cardigan slims you and a cropped boxy jacket doesn't. Your necklace obeys the exact same law of the eye. Now here's how to get it right, because length matters more than you'd think. You want the pendant to end somewhere between your collarbone and the top of your bust, roughly 18 to 20 inches of chain. If the pendant sits too high, it starts drawing that horizontal line again. If it drops too low, it can pull the shoulders forward and read a little heavy. The sweet spot is that soft V that ends around the third button of a blouse, long enough to make a line. Not so long it disappears, and keep the pendant itself on the smaller side. A delicate pendant reads as refined and lets the line of the chain do the slimming. A huge, chunky pendant fights the line and adds visual weight back to your center. Small pendant, clean chain, ending mid-chest. That's the whole recipe. But a pendant on a chain, as lovely as it is, isn't the strongest V you can draw. There's a second necklace that takes the same principle and makes the line even longer, even more dramatic, and it's the one that took 10 full years off my reflection the fastest. So let me show you that one next, because once you understand why it works, you'll never look at your longest chains the same way again. This second necklace is the long one. The one that falls past your collarbone, down toward the center of your chest and beyond, ending in a single point or a small drop. In the old books, this length had names too. The princess we talked about ends near the collarbone. Longer than that is the matinee, around 20 to 24 inches, and longer still is the opera length, 30 inches or more, the kind you can loop or not. And then there's my favorite of all, the one they called the lariat, or what people today call a Y necklace, where the chain comes down and then drops again into a long vertical tail right down the center of your chest. That Y drop is the most powerful anti-aging line in your entire jewelry drawer, and I mean that plainly. Here's why. Remember the V we're trying to draw? A Y necklace doesn't just suggest a vertical line, it draws a real one, straight down the middle of your body, longer than any pendant can, with a little weighted point at the end that keeps it hanging true and vertical. The eye follows that drop all the way down, past your neck, past your jaw, past everything we're self-conscious about, and it reads your whole upper body as one long, elegant column. Think about the women who always looked effortlessly elegant into their 70s and 80s. Think of the long ropes of pearls that a certain French designer made famous in the 1920s, the ones she'd loop or let hang in a long, straight line down the front of a simple dress. She understood something the rest of the fashion world took decades to catch up to. A long vertical line is ageless. It flatters at 20 and it flatters at 80, because it works with the eye, not against it. She wore those ropes long past 60 herself, and every photograph of her from those years looks modern even now. Let me give you the exact way to wear the long line so it flatters instead of overwhelms. First, keep the chain thin to medium. A long, thin chain reads as elegant and makes the sharpest vertical line. A long, chunky chain can start to look heavy and pull the eye outward instead of down. Second, let it hang free and straight, not twisted or bunched. The whole power is in that clean vertical drop. Third, if you have a wine necklace or a lariat, let the drop fall to about the middle of your breastbone. That's the length that makes the neck look longest without dragging attention too low. And if that one small recipe just rearranged what you see in the mirror, imagine what happens when you apply the same eye to everything else you put on before you leave the house. That's exactly why I sat down and wrote 3 books for women like us. One takes this line and shadow thinking through your entire closet, so you can look at a color, a neckline, or a piece of jewelry, and know in one glance whether it's lifting your face or draining it. One does it with your hair, rebuilding volume and shape with what's already on your head, no extensions, no new products. And one does it with your makeup, so foundation stops cracking and powder stops settling into the lines you've stopped photographing. Everything works with what you already own tonight. No shopping trip, no salon, and if a week later your mirror hasn't changed, you get your money back without explaining yourself to anyone. To get them, scan the QR code right there on your screen, link in the description, pinned comment. Read on a Friday, used on a Saturday. That's how they're built. Now, a pendant on a chain is only the beginning of what a vertical line can do for your neck, because there's a longer, bolder version of this same idea sitting in your drawer right now. And here's a small trick I stumbled onto that changed everything. If you have a long chain but no pendant, add one small charm or a single ring to the bottom of it, even a simple loop, just enough weight to make it hang straight and point downward. That tiny weight turns an ordinary chain into a vertical arrow that lengthens your whole neckline. I did this with an old chain and a spare wedding band I keep in my jewelry box, and I've worn it more than anything I've ever bought. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. You're thinking this is fine for women with a drawer full of gold and pearls, but what about the woman who has 1 or 2 simple pieces and no money to go buy more? I hear you. So this next part is for you specifically. And I want you to lean in, because it costs nothing at all. You do not need to own a single necklace to draw the slimming V. You can draw it with the clothes hanging in your closet right now, today, for free. Here's how. That vertical line we keep talking about, the one that lengthens your neck and slims your face, can be made entirely by your neckline instead of your jewelry. Reach into your closet and find any blouse, shirt, or cardigan that opens down the front. A collared shirt, a button blouse, a cardigan, or a jacket with lapels, anything with an opening at the chest. Now, instead of buttoning it high, open the top 2 or 3 buttons and let the fabric fall into a soft V at your chest. That open collar is a vertical line. It does the exact same work as the pendant and the long chain. It draws the eye down the center, it lengthens the neck, and it opens up the space under your chin so no hard horizontal line cuts across your throat. A shirt collar left open, with the points falling down and out, frames your face in a gentle V and takes years off, and it didn't cost you 1 cent. Compare that to the crew neck. The round, high neckline that hugs the throat in a closed circle. That circle is a horizontal line, the aging H again, wrapping right around the widest part of the neck. So many of us live in soft, round neck tops because they're comfortable, never realizing they're doing the same thing as the tight choker, drawing that shortening line across the throat all day long. You don't have to give up your comfortable tops. You just soften the neckline. Take a round neck sweater and layer it over a collared shirt so the collar points peek out and make a V. Or add a lightweight scarf and let it hang in 2 long vertical panels down the front instead of wrapping it around and around your neck. A scarf that hangs straight down draws the vertical line. A scarf wound tight around the throat draws the aging horizontal one. Same scarf, completely different result. And again, free. It's already in your drawer. Here's the deeper thing I want you to understand, because it's bigger than any single item. Everything that flatters us past 60 follows one quiet rule. Draw the eye up and down, never across the throat. Once you know that rule, you can look at anything you own, a top, a scarf, a chain, a jacket, and know in 1 second whether it's helping you or aging you. Does it make a line down the center? It's your friend. Does it make a line across your neck? Set it aside for now. That single question is worth more than any expensive necklace, and you'll use it every morning for the rest of your life. But there's one more thing, and this is the piece I promised you at the very beginning, because knowing where to place the line is only half of it. There's a second secret, a quieter one, And it's the reason two women can wear the exact same style of necklace and one looks radiant while the other looks washed out. This is the part almost no one knows, and it comes straight out of old Hollywood. Let me set the scene for you. Back in the 1950s, the great film studios had a problem. Their leading ladies were aging, but the cameras of that era were harsh and unforgiving, and black and white film especially showed every shadow and every drop of dullness in the skin. So the studios leaned on their costume designers to solve it. And one of the most brilliant of them all, a woman who won more Academy Awards than any woman in history for costume design, understood something about jewelry that most people still don't. She knew that the metal and stones you wear near your face act like a mirror. Anything shiny placed close to your skin bounces light and color back up onto your face. She used this deliberately. She would place warm-toned metals and soft, glowing stones near an actress's jaw and throat because that warm reflected light filled in shadows and put a healthy glow back into skin that the camera would otherwise read as tired. Now here's why this matters for you and me more than it ever mattered for those actresses. As our skin changes with age, it loses some of its natural warmth and pinkness. The undertone cools. This is well documented in the science of how skin ages. The blood vessels sit deeper, the surface loses some of its rosy glow, and the complexion can start to read a little gray or sallow, especially in poor light. So watch what happens when you place a cool, bright silver or a stark white metal right up against that cooling skin. The mirror effect bounces cool, gray-blue light straight up onto your face, and it amplifies exactly the grayness we're trying to hide. The necklace makes your skin look more tired, not less, and you'd never guess it was the necklace. You'd blame your face. Now place a warm metal against that same skin. Yellow gold, rose gold with its soft pink cast, warm brass, a string of cream or golden-toned pearls instead of stark white ones. Suddenly the mirror is bouncing warm, rosy golden light up onto your jaw and cheeks. It fills in the very warmth your skin has been losing. Your complexion looks lit from within. The shadows soften. You look rested, healthy, alive. This is the secret finale, and it is so simple you can test it tonight. Stand at your mirror in good light. Hold a silver or white metal piece up under your chin and really look at your skin. Then hold a gold or rose gold piece in the same spot. Watch your face, not the jewelry. For most women past 60, the warm metal makes the skin look instantly softer and more alive, and the cool metal makes it look a shade grayer. Your own eyes will tell you the truth in 5 seconds, and you will never forget it. And here's the beautiful part. Rose gold especially, that soft pinkish warm tone, has become easy to find and inexpensive in the last few years. You don't need real gold. You need the warm color near your face. A warm-toned chain from a shop for a few dollars will do more for your complexion than the most expensive cool silver piece you own, because the science of reflected light doesn't care what you paid. It only cares about the color bouncing up onto your skin. So now you have the whole picture, and I want to gather it in your hands so it stays with you. Put down the short, tight necklace that draws the hard line across your throat, the one that widens your neck and drops a shadow under your jaw. It was never flattering us, and now you know why. Reach instead for the vertical line, the simple pendant on a chain that ends mid-chest, the long chain or the Y drop that pulls the eye straight down and turns your whole neckline into one elegant column. And if you own no necklace at all, draw that same line for free with an open collar, a V-neck, a scarf hanging straight down the front instead of wound around the throat. And whatever you choose, keep it warm against your skin. Gold, rose gold, warm brass, cream-toned pearls, so the light it reflects fills your face with the glow that time quietly borrowed. That's the whole thing. That's what 100 fashion magazines never told you in plain words. I think about the years I spent believing the tiredness in my photographs was just my age catching up with me, when all along it was a tight strand of beads drawing a line in the worst possible place, and a cold metal bouncing gray light onto my skin. Nobody profited from telling me the truth. It was so much easier to sell me another cream, another treatment, another promise, than to simply say, "Dear, move the line down and warm the metal up." The knowledge was old. It was known in Hollywood 70 years ago. It just never made it to us, because a woman who understands the line of her own neckline doesn't need to keep buying things to fix a problem that was never really her face. Let me leave you with something to picture. Tomorrow morning, before anyone else is awake, go stand at your mirror. Take off whatever sits tight and high at your throat. Open the top buttons of your collar into a soft V, or or drop a thin, warm chain down the center of your chest. Then look up, that woman looking back at you with the longer neck and the softer jaw and the light in her face. She was there the whole time. You just found the switch that turns her back on, because that's who you are. You're not a woman whose elegance expired at a certain birthday. You're a woman who was handed the wrong rules and is finally quietly taking them back, one line at a time. Now, I want to hear from you, and I mean this, because this audience is shy about it, and I always have to ask. Tell me in the comments, which necklace have you been reaching for all these years? The short one at the throat or the long one down the chest? And tell me where you're watching from, because I love picturing all the different kitchens and living rooms these words travel to. Leave me a comment right now, even one line, so I know you're out there. And if you felt something click into place while we talked, something that finally made sense of what the mirror's been showing you, then come stand with the rest of us. Subscribe and join the women who refuse to believe elegance has an expiration date, the ones reclaiming everything the beauty industry quietly told us we'd aged out of. Because next time, I'm going to show you the one color that most women over 60 stopped wearing decades ago on someone else's bad advice, the exact color that turns out to be the single most flattering shade against mature skin, and the reason a famous designer wore it until the day she died. You are not going to want to miss which color it is. I'll see you there. Before you go, here's what comes next. This video showed you the principle, but inside the timeless elegance circle, I walk you through the neckline lengthening pairings for your exact drawer. And you can ask me your own questions there. A real person, me, answering you myself, never a machine. You won't be alone. Elegant women just like you are already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime. One click. No risk. Now that you know the right necklace, let's talk about what it rests on. The next video shows you the necklines that take years off your face and the 3 to always avoid. It's starting right here.